And Brian Kelly is the story of this day, a man who is often stoic. And by the way, he will be here tomorrow on this program, or at least he's scheduled to be. What about last night for Brian Kelly?
We had some guys played their butts off tonight, and we're sitting here again. We're sitting here again talking about the same things. About not finishing when you have an opponent in a position to put them away. But what we're doing on the sideline is feeling like the game's over. And I'm so angry about it that I got to do something about it. I'm not doing a good enough job as a coach. And I got to coach him better, because it's unacceptable for us not to have found a way to win this football game. It's ridiculous.
Guilbeau covered the game, and he is making the long trek back to Louisiana from Vegas. I believe he's at the Austin airport. So, Glenn, I know these aren't the best circumstances to visit us, but we're delighted to welcome you back to our program, and can't wait to get your view. Let's start with the rant after the game. That seems to be getting all the conversation.
I'm excited that my suspension from the Paul Finebaum show has ended, and I'm back. It's exciting, man. Love your show, always have. No, it was amazing last night watching Brian Kelly do that, because that soundbite you played, I wrote about that last night, and it started calm. You know, he was somebody had asked about a couple of players that had played well, and he calmly said, "Yeah, they played a hell of a game," and then he just turned that switch. Kind of like Saban would do. He turned that switch, and next thing you know, he's yelling, and his face is all red. It was something else. But I tell you, he was extremely candid in that conversation, and it was a very cathartic press conference for him, because he let it all hang out, man. And I think he was speaking from the heart, and he was saying how bad the team played, but really he was criticizing himself. And there was some self-loathing in there too, and I thought it was cinematic, man. But he really, there was no coach speaking there. He was just talking like a regular guy in a bar or something about how bad his team played.
Well, Glenn, let's get to the game, and to me, you covered it, but it just seemed like a lot of lost opportunities. I mean, what was your view of the game?
Yeah, no question. They take the ball the length of the field with the first possession of the game, and the receiver doesn't get his foot in bounds, and then it's 4th and goal. They go for it. They didn't get it. And then they settled for 2 field goals later in the game from the red zone area that came back to haunt them. But really, the key, Paul, was this beleaguered, terrible defense from last year actually played a pretty good game until the end. USC only had 13 points with, at about the 6 or 5 minute mark of the game. And slightly before that, LSU had forced a punt for USC, which didn't happen a lot last year in games. And then they turned the ball over on 4th and 9. They got the ball back, and on both of those turnovers to LSU football, the LSU offense, they punted. So that was the key right there. LSU needed to score there, and then they kind of fell apart at the end. The offense, Kelly said it best. The offense put too much pressure on LSU's defense, and LSU doesn't have that type of defense yet where they can carry a game. But the defense played well enough to win that game yesterday, and that's one of the few bright spots about the game.
Glenn, I realize you spent a lot of time checking out hotels, going to airports, and I'm sure you're traveling with a lot of LSU fans. I know it's hard to encapsulate a fan base into just anecdotal conversations, but what is the mood of the LSU fan right now?
I try to avoid the purple and gold in airports, places, Paul. I've been doing that for years, and purple and gold is pretty easy to notice. People don't wear purple and gold just normally, so you can notice them. But no, I've already looked on Twitter and so forth, and they're very upset with Kelly, and some of them even want to change. but it is 3 straight season opening losses, and that is kind of amazing because his team, the last, I'll give him a pass on the first loss his first year because he inherited a mess, but the last 2, his team was just not ready to play. I mean, this year was a little, more prepared to play. They looked okay at times, but the last 2 years they just kind of looked in spots like they didn't practice, and then each season under Kelly, they've gotten better as the season goes on. So he's got to figure out how to play in an opener, or just start scheduling the Renowinds in the opener. Like Western Kentucky and Alabama A&M, some of the other teams we saw played this week, because they have not been able to handle that opener.
So the exit question here, Glenn, before we let you get back to your plane, is what does this mean in the new constructed world that we live in, where you can still survive a loss on the opening weekend and make it to the playoffs? What's your outlook for the rest of the way?
Yeah, if this was the 14 playoff year, I would say they were in big trouble of not making the playoff yet again. They haven't been there since 2019. But with the 12-team playoff, I think they're still going to have a chance. If they lose another game, heck, a 3-loss SEC team is probably get in the 12-team playoff. 2-loss teams got into it in the smaller playoffs. But there's some good things about this LSU team that showed yesterday if you watched. The defense is better under Blake Baker. And Garrett Nussmeier looked very good. He missed some plays late when they really needed him, but he was on point most of the game. Their running game looked pretty good. So I think there's a lot there. They're still going to be pretty good. I still see them as a 2 to 3 loss team, even after that loss.
Glenn Guilbeau joining us from an airport on the way back from Vegas. Thank you very much, Glenn. We'll talk to you soon. A pretty positive response there, Glenn. And why not? I mean, they should have won the game. I think that's why everybody's so frustrated. But they didn't. And they're going to have to make up for it somewhere along the way.